Hi there. My name is Mo, and you're listening to the Hungry Creative Podcast. There was a particular part of our chat that really kept ringing in my head. I was like, "Wow, that's such a bold decision." So I would like to ask you that, sitting in class, an SS3 student, and being that student that just did not, you know, fit in that environment, it seemed like everything wasn't like for you,
Yeah.
and getting up to go to your, was it your principal or someone, to tell them that you want to make that bold audacious decision. What was going through your mind at that point?
Wow, you make it sound so heroic. Like I was this very bold. I wasn't bold. I was afraid.
Okay.
I would say that I was really feeble and I was really scared growing up.
Mm,
And also because I had like a lot of low self-esteem. And so I didn't really know how to talk to people. I'll
mm,
just always look down. So but at that point I just knew that I needed to do something. Even not it I just knew I needed to do something because I mean it was the last semester or last this semester you call it in secondary
term.
school
I think
last
term.
term and
Yeah.
yes last term and I knew that if I continue with science class, hey Jesus, I was going to fail, and then I'll have my juniors, join me. I didn't want to repeat. I was
Yeah.
like, it's either I chase these people, I tell them I cannot do further maths anymore. I cannot do
Mm,
chemistry. I am not
yeah.
made for that. And just tell them and just let me switch, even though it's almost too late to switch.
Wow.
So I just knew that I needed to do that. So I gathered like all the boldness and I just did that. It's more like a survival thing.
Mm,
I just needed to figure out a way to survive. Yeah.
wow.
I'll say it this way. It's like, chickens, right?
Yeah.
Chickens they get scared easily because I read
Hmm.
chickens growing up. But when you see this mother hen, when she's done hatching her eggs, there's this boldness. It's almost like, yeah, I'm scared, but I have to do that. I have to protect my chicks, right? So
Absolutely.
even if you're like a really scared person, there's sometimes that you'd experience things that'll just make you, you know, I don't know, just make that really tough decision.
Wow.
You just do what you have to do. Yeah.
Was that something that you had done before? Had you ever taken such a drastic and very intentional decision before that time? Or would you say that was
No,
your first?
no, it was my first.
That was your first.
So you know how it is in secondary school where you are maybe either a commercial class, arts class, or science class. So and then you get to make a decision in I think SS1 or something like that. No, SS
Yes.
is it SS3 or SS1?
About
I think
joining
it's
about
SS1.
SS1, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
SS1.
I
So
think the
you
curriculum has
know,
changed now though, but yeah,
yeah,
it used
yeah,
to be
it has.
SS1.
Yeah. So I've always been that, kid. I've always been that childhood, try to make things. I'll try to create things. But I would say that I just never saw it as special.
Mm.
I saw other kids make like, solve mathematical equations and people would be like, this child is smart. Oh my
Mm.
way, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I felt like, why am I not like these people?
Mm.
Why am I so good at making drawings and making paintings? No one appreciates this.
Mm.
Why can't I be like them? Why can't my mind work the way theirs
Mm.
work? So I was just had that entire thing going on in my head. And so when I got to assess when I was supposed to make that decision, I was like, I'm not going to go to arts class because even though
Mm.
I want to go to arts class, I feel like let me just go to science so that I can feel like one of the smart ones, right?
Mm.
I can feel like, the ones that they will stereotype and everything.
Yeah.
And so I went to, science class, I joined them and I decided to struggle with further maths, with chemistry, with everything. I just felt like that's, fish out of water. And that's the best way
Mm.
to describe it. I felt like I was not where I was supposed to be, but I just kept struggling. I kept managing. And then it was the last term. It was, that the term before work. And I'm like, even though I'm here now, I need to make the switch now. If I don't make the
Mm.
switch now, I'm just going to fail WAEC. So I need to switch to science art class, even though it is almost too late. And so that was what pushed me to just go to the admin office to say, I don't have just one term left, but I need to make that switch to art class. I cannot continue in science class. And
Mm.
they just looked at me like, you're a very confused person. You didn't make the decision. You didn't make you didn't make the decision in SS1, SS2, SS3 first term, second term,
As
now
in
SS3 third term.
third term.
So, but I made that decision and it worked out.
Oh,
And I just joined art class and it was just better. It was a much better experience for me.
wow, that's such a story. I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
people can relate with that. Like I told you, even I can relate with that story. One of the biggest issues that we have in traditional education as we had
Yeah.
it then, I don't know how much has changed now, was that stereotyping and the stigma of, there are the smart ones and the not so smart ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are falling into that pit of that, when that thing, dawns on you and you're not able to get yourself out of that mentality. And it's something that a lot of people struggle. Even I had my struggles, taking that whole thing into my, further studies in uni.
Yeah.
It still happened. It still happened
Yeah.
even in university to some extent,
Yeah.
even where we were in design school, so like lecturers having favorite students because they are in quote smart, and but there are the other students who have other skills, and they probably have other ways where they learn better or how they learn better. I'm hearing your story is so relatable. I just want to put that out, that
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, and I think your story is inspiring as well.
I was going to say that these are the people who change the world, right? You see
Mm.
people who are able to think outside the box.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in secondary school and I would draw for my classmates because I was so good at it and I didn't think it was valuable. I would make paintings. I would make sketches. I would make portraits. The portraits were so good that some of my friends would give me pictures of their fathers to draw and they would do them on their wall in their living room.
Yeah.
It meant nothing to me because for me, if people around me don't find it valuable, it means that it is nothing. And I would say that this mentality, it has a way of shaping your mindset. It has a
Mm.
way of limiting you. You start to feel like you're not as valuable as other persons, other people. And you start to feel like you're not going to make real impact. You're not going to do something real. And as for a child, that is a problem
Yeah.
because you start to kill that potential. You start to kill the potential of
Absolutely.
what they can actually become. And that's why
Absolutely.
I'm very passionate about education. I'm very passionate about, ensuring that people who are artistic, people who are creative, they, they find a place where they can actually express themselves and, without limitation.
The last statement you just made, I think it just summarizes what the most impactful part of your work. I mean, on the public side of things, obviously on the corporate side of things, you've done a lot of projects and a lot of great work in those spaces. But I just want to focus on that educational part again. I saw one of your posts on Instagram about like your journey, and you've been I'd say that you've been very intentional about sharing your story and your journey in the design industry, right? Being a woman in that industry, what has been the most challenging part of being a woman, evolving through, from the very point when you realized you're going to be a designer to getting to this point? What has been the most challenging part of it?
I'd say that um maybe most of the challenges that I experienced were in the past, right? Now things are
Yeah.
different. People don't
Yeah.
really care. People don't really care whether you're male or female anymore, as long as you're able to deliver, you're able to create good design,
Yeah.
and then people just respect your work. And things are really changing. Women still face those issues, but it's kind of like reducing on a daily basis. But I'll say, um, before now, I mean, years ago, some of the challenges that I faced, some of it was just centered around having to prove myself. There were
Mm.
times that I would say, "Oh, I worked on this," and someone would be like, "Are you sure? Like you actually worked on this?" Almost like because I'm a woman, I don't have sense, or I don't have the capacity
Mm.
to think or to create.
Mm.
Doesn't even make any sense. There's someone who reached out to me then, and I was like, "Oh, he wants to create some some designs." Saw my website. This was years ago, and I'm like, "Yeah, I worked on them." He's like, "No, he doesn't believe that I worked on them," and for
Mm.
that reason, he just didn't want to work with me.
Wow.
It didn't make any sense. I didn't think it was possible for anyone to think that way, but there are people like that.
Wow.
Or is it the person who walked up to me sometime and said, "Oh, I need the person who worked on this. Can you call me the guy who worked?" I'm like, "No, I worked on it." And she's like, "Please don't joke with me. Call me the person who worked on this." And I'm like, "Really?"
Excuse you?
It doesn't make any sense. So I'll say that was like one of the major challenges that I experienced, having to prove myself.
Hmm.
And I would say that also when you, as a woman, I remember those days when I started Geneza Brands, you want to get a contract, you've done the proposal, you've gone to the office, you want to submit it. And instead of having conversations about the work, they're starting to have a different kind of conversation,
Hmm.
very uncomfortable conversations because you're a woman and they want to take advantage of you. And it's almost
Hmm.
like they shift their focus away from your work
Hmm.
to, other things. And it's just quite sad. And so some of those were like some of the challenges that I experienced. But I'll say now things are much better. And then I think I've also been able to build my career to a point where those things no longer affect me as much anymore.
Amazing, amazing. Hearing that is so saddening at the same time. And I think it's also inspiring because now you're saying that, now you've been able to, things have changed from what you said.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that really encouraged me, I mean, years ago was when I started TFDM, the female designer movement, which is Azari now. I remember there was this message I received from a woman, and she said to me, she said, Bolanle, my child wants to do art. My child wants to maybe study design. She knows
Hmm.
how to draw. She knows how to do all this. But I don't want her to suffer in future.
Hmm.
I feel like if she goes on this path, she's not going to do so much with her life, right? But looking at you, looking at everything that you've accomplished, I feel like there is a chance for her there and there's a
Hmm.
future for her. And for that reason, I'm going to allow her to pursue her dreams. And
Wow.
I read that message and I was like, this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Hmm.
You know, it's not just to be everywhere. Oh, Bolanle this, Bolanle that. It's not just about popularity without any impact. It's more about just figuring out a way to ensure that people see these opportunities. People allow their children, their girls express their creativity. There's so much they can do. And there's just endless opportunities out there.
That's definitely, I think that's, I mean, from the things I've seen as end result, I mean, from also the story that you've just spoken about, I think it
Yeah.
shows that the work is gradually, having impact. Like the rewards are coming through stories like that. And I just can't wait for a time when women can indeed, say that they want to be designers and they go on to be designers and be anything else they want to be. And also because this month is also the International Women's Month, I think it just makes sense to have you as a guest on the podcast to be able to, shed more light on these issues, and hopefully we can, make a mark. You mentioned that you've been drawing, you've been painting, you've been illustrating from a very young age. How did you get through secondary school? How did you eventually find yourself? How did you find where you belonged? Eventually, at what point, at what moment did you realize, okay, this is actually what I want to do, and I'm going to go all the way to do it?
I think I think everything I think I gained that confidence when I started making money,
Mm,
right? Because I'll say that one of the reason why a lot of people are scared, about pursuing, design or they just have like questions is because they are wondering, is this going to sustain me? Can I,
mm,
can I build my life around this? Is this going to sustain my future? You know, when I was young, I would only enter because I grew up in Ikorodu and would enter a bus from Ikorodu to Yaba, and I'll see these guys, I'll see these guys holding like their artwork, selling in the traffic. And that affected me a lot in, I
mm,
don't know, maybe in a negative way. Because I said, these people are like me, they can draw. And why are they on the street selling their artworks? Like, why is this so like pure water?
mm,
And I started to ask myself, is this how I'm going to be in future? Am I going to sell my work on the streets? And that just made me even, you know, just made
mm,
me really scared about. So I'll say that I was really scared of, that particular outcome. And so how did I find design? How did I find my way? I think it was university after I was done with my university, I was done with university. I think it was the last semester to finishing
again, last
school.
semester,
Last semester.
last term,
It's
last semester.
last term, last semester.
Something about
You know,
last.
I'm telling you, I remember writing my one of the exams for like, the exams you write before you finish school.
Yeah.
I remember one of those exams and I stood outside the gates and I said, God, I looked up to heaven. I'm like, God, what am I going to do in my future?
Hmm.
I don't want to be a newscaster. I've seen people who are like great newscasters and I like it for them. They are really good at it, but I don't see myself there. I don't want to be a writer like this people who write for like newspapers and all. I don't see myself. I want to be an editor. So why am I here? What did I just spend the last 4 years doing?
Hmm.
I felt so confused. I was just like, God, if you don't save me now,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do in my life.
Hmm.
And at this point, I think that my father also noticed I was a bit confused about what I wanted to do. So he started to send me local government applications and openings. Like if so that if you know, if you
Worst case
decide
scenario.
worst case scenario, you come and work with the
Oh my
Lagos State
goodness.
this
Oh
local
my
government,
god.
they always have, and
Yes,
I'm like,
now.
I don't want to work for the local government. That's not what I want to do. I want to do something. It's almost like I knew what I wanted, but it was just so far. It was unreachable. I wanted
Hmm.
to do design, study design, go abroad, but the money wasn't there. And so I could only dream. But I'll say when I was finishing university, I used to make comics and illustrations on the school board for people to laugh. It was just a way for me not to become depressed and for me to express my
Hmm.
creativity. And
Yeah.
someone walked up to me and she said, "Oh, there's this company somewhere. They want to hire like a comic illustrator. I've seen your work on the school notice board. Do you want to try it?" Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I went for the interview and they loved me. And they're like, you can start working with us. And so
Wow.
I got my first job and they were paying me a salary. I can't remember what the salary was. Maybe it was about maybe 50K or 20K. I can't remember. But it was a big
That must
deal.
have been good
Oh
money
my
then.
God. It was a
Uh-huh.
big deal. I felt like I said, I finally have a future. Oh my God. And I was so happy to tell my father, I'm like, I got a job. I got a
Mm.
job. I'm working
Yeah.
now. It
Yeah.
felt so good. It felt like,
Hmm.
yes, I finally know what I'm going to do in my life.
Hmm.
And so I would resume work and see other people, so video editors,
Hmm.
I'll see illustrators, I'll see graphic designers. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I finally found my place.
It
I
was like a
felt like,
validation.
exactly. I felt like I'd gotten to that point where, yes, I'm home. This is where I'm supposed to be,
Now it
you
makes
know.
sense. I'm not gonna be
And
hawking my artwork in the
I'm not going to
street.
work in my house. Exactly. So there's a future here. Someone is actually paying me money to just be
Hmm.
myself.
And seeing you evolve from, getting that first job to getting the next job to now deciding that, okay, what's the next step? I've garnered all this experience, met all these
Yeah.
people. At what point did you decide that you needed to do more than just be an employee?
If I struggled through, if I had all this, if I experienced all these struggles and all these things, like it means there are other people, other women,
Hmm.
especially, who want to study design, but they don't know where to go to.
Yeah.
Can I create some sort of, can I create something? And my
Hmm.
plan was to use my living room for the first
Hmm.
event. I was
Wow.
like, I was leaving my brother. I was like, maybe I'll just beg him to use his living room. I'll just do something. I just need like maybe 10, 20 women. So I put out this Google form. I think that about 500 people registered. I'm like, So
Whoa.
this is like a common
And
problem.
it
There
was
are other
just
people.
women.
Yes, just women. You
Whoa.
know, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to need a bigger space.
Wow.
And I remember I called my first boss, she's an amazing woman. And she was like, Bolanle, come and use my space. Come
Oh
and use
my
my anything you
goodness.
need.
Wow.
And she's always been that woman who would support you, Mrs. Jane. She would always support you through. So she was like, come use my space. That was the first space we ever used. And we had women. It was so emotional for me. I saw
Hmm.
women coming. I saw women who had children, who were pregnant. And they were
Wow.
like, I want to do design. I've always wanted to do this. I just never had the
Wow.
chance. It's expensive.
Wow.
And so they'll come in, we'll train them to at least design something.
Hmm.
The goal for us was if we can get you to design something and see what you and just create something and see that it's actually possible to create something.
Hmm.
Maybe that would just, I don't know, give you the confidence to continue. Maybe
Hmm.
that will spark something in your heart and you just feel like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. And like I said before, it's not for everyone, but let's create our venue for them to at least come and try and see if it is for them. Years after, I'll go for events and I'll see women in the room and they'll walk up to me to say, Bolanle, I know you don't recognize me, but you actually trained me then. That was my first contact with design. But now I work as a product designer for this company, this company. And
Amazing.
I'll be like, God, I'm so grateful to God that I actually did what I
That's
did.
impact right there.
Yeah.
That's impact right there. It's so good hearing this story because, I mean, for anyone that's listening to this, I feel like people will be inspired just listening to your story. Just backtracking a bit again, I remember you mentioned something about just also building confidence as a
Yeah.
young upcoming student or designer. You mentioned an experience where you said you won a prize. You went for a training, right? Yeah, and just reflecting on the previous experience in secondary school where you hadn't
Yeah.
really, been that kind of state, and then
Yeah.
winning a prize, and then
Yeah.
doubting yourself
Yeah.
because you did not get the validation from your family, right? And I think this is where we need to hear from you what our experience was like, because support system. I mean, I feel like there's something that you need to share with us in that as
I was
well.
gonna I was gonna correct something as well.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I didn't get the validation from my family. I would say they
Okay.
actually supported me,
Okay.
but just so that they don't hear this and they don't come for my neck, they supported me. They actually supported me. But I would say that the moment I told my sister, the next thing was, what do we do?
Hmm.
Okay. And they started to support me. They're like, that's what you want to do with your life, we'll support you. But
Hmm.
before then, before I talked about it, I was just the one struggling by
Hmm.
myself.
Okay.
I was just keeping everything in because I felt like maybe if I speak out, they're going to be disappointed in me because they're
Hmm.
all science students. Like,
Hmm.
what, but I didn't give them the chance to, and then when I did, they just all, supported exactly what I wanted to do. So I'll
Okay.
say, yes, I received their support. But so about the price thing, it was just that, that moment, that moment in your life when everything changes and you start to see
Yeah.
yourself differently. I'll say that I think that everyone experienced, growing up, being in secondary school, primary school, and there's this prize giving day, and then
Mm-hmm.
they say, best students in this person, blah 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 blah. So I would say that I got to experience that, and I'll see many people go out. Like I said, I struggled through primary school and secondary school because of some of those subjects,
Yeah.
right? And so I'll see my classmates, I'll see my friends collect prize for best in this, best in this, best in this. And I always felt like, why don't we have like categories around like core design? Even though
Mm-hmm.
everyone knew that Bolanle was the best illustrator, Bolanle was the best artist, but even design wasn't considered so important in secondary school because when it was
Mm.
time for WAEC, they took it out.
Wow.
So when it was time for WAEC, they took design out, which was like the only thing I was even looking forward to,
Hmm.
So I would see people collect prize for further maths, for physics, for this, for that. And I just felt like, well, this is not my place, but maybe one day I'll find my place. And so I finished university, I finished the secondary school and, still feeling that way, still carrying that entire weight on my shoulder. And I remember, still feeling like a failure and all, right? I remember that I, resumed university and there was this strike because I attended LASU. And there was this long strike and I decided to go to this computer school that is
Yeah.
affiliated. I think it's like a computer school by OEU or something. And
Okay.
so I went to this computer school and it was the first time I saw them using CorelDRAW. And I remember attending the class that morning and then they were just the guy came into the class, he was teaching us how to use CorelDRAW software to design the MTN logo. I can never forget. And within like few minutes, I was able to I just knew exactly what to do. It just came to me. It just felt so natural, right? And when I finished designing mine, I saw that people struggling, which I'm actually used to. I think at that point in my life, I got used to see people struggle with anything design related, and I was just being good
Mm.
at it. But
Yeah.
I still didn't think it was special. So it didn't make me feel extra special or anything.
Hmm.
So the man came to my computer and like, you did this? I said, yes. Have you ever used CorelDRAW before? I said, no. He said, please stay with me for the next class. And he just join me to take the next class. And I was like, okay. And so that became a place for me to really just express myself. I really
Hmm.
enjoyed the classes. We'll design, we'll do this. And I remember that we're done with it was a very big school. We're done with like all the exams. The exams were like really easy for me because it was design
Design
related and
related.
I was just striving. I was like,
It was
wow. So
your
this is
safe
what
space.
exactly I was like, so this is what it feels like to just it was just felt very good. I finally just felt like, yeah, I'm in a place where I can just be myself. And so it
Yeah.
was time for like the prize giving day. And because I had this mentality, I had this mindset that yeah, I was never going to receive any prize for anything.
Hmm.
Even though I knew I had done well in the exams. And so they're calling people for their prize. They're just sat at the back. I'm like, yeah, here we go again, that kind of thing. And they didn't call my name. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden they're like, the best students in the class. And they called me. Like, wait, did they make a mistake or something? Like,
Wow.
why would anybody call me? And that is, and it's crazy how, you can believe the wrong things about yourself and it can actually
Hmm.
just shape everything about you, shape your
Everything.
perception, shape
Hmm.
everything. Even
Hmm.
your
Your
stature,
expectation.
your stand,
Your
yeah, even
posture.
your posture, because there's something when you don't believe in yourself, when you have low self-esteem,
Absolutely.
there's a way you walk, you start to
Yeah.
look down, you're not bold, you're not
Hmm.
standing confidently, and
Hmm.
that's exactly how I was. And so they called me to the front, and I'm like, okay, thank you for the prize. And as I was walking back to my seat, they said, and the best overall student in the entire school is Bolanle.
Wow.
I
Wow.
just started crying. I just started crying. I'm like, why would anybody ever give me a prize? Like, and that's when
Damn.
when people say to me, "Oh, Bolanle, you're so good at design. You're so good at this. You're so this. You're so you're known in the design space and everything." People think that winning is something I'm used to, or
Mm,
maybe something that I experienced all my life. No, I experienced a lot
mm,
of failures. Like it was a norm for me,
mm.
right? Before I found my place,
Wow.
and so they gave me this big computer with the CPU, and I had to tata keke mariwa to carry it home. And I still couldn't believe it that they actually gave me something
Wow.
for something I considered not valuable, you
Yeah.
know. And that was it for me. I just knew that I just needed to find my place, a
Mm.
place where my work is valued, a place where people are willing to pay for the things that I can do with my mind.
Wow.
And so yeah,
Yeah, listening to you, Bolanli, has been so good. Talking about your work in Geneza School of Design, because I know you did the female designer movement, and then I think you transitioned to something else. What was it
Azari,
called?
yeah,
Okay.
Azari.
Yeah. And then I saw that you also, I mean, eventually you also started Geneza, which I think you started a while back as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if I look back on your feed, I saw like Geneza somewhere there. So, and then you started doing Geneza School of Design, and you went on this like full on, course outline thing, like a school where people can like learn, take courses, and just learn. What has been the
Yeah.
I mean, what motivated you to do that? Because you were doing the female movement at some point, but now you opened it to like everybody, and like regardless of gender, anybody can go there and buy a course. What has been the impact?
Mm,
What inspired you to
mm,
do it, and what has been the impact of that?
okay. I'll say that um Azari Women in Sec, which was formerly TFDM, is actually still focused on just women,
Okay.
right? Because it's very important that we create those structures, we create, opportunities and opportunities and avenues to bring women together, you
Okay.
know. And so that is still women focused. But then we have Geneza School, which is just a school. Anyone can just go there to buy a course. But I
Okay.
think that one thing that is special about Geneza School is we've made our courses like super cheap. At different points, we've had people say, "How do you guys even make money? Like your
Hmm.
courses are like really cheap. Do
Yep.
you not want to like increase your prices?" But I'm like, beyond making money, I still want to make impact,
Hmm.
right? If I'm saying that when I started designing, when I started to consider design, I didn't even have money to, you know, to afford many of the courses that I wanted, then why should I
Hmm.
make it difficult for people to also afford design courses? What would be the
Absolutely.
reason? What would be the impact?
Hmm.
So the reason why so Geneza School is designed to help people who are just starting out, afford these courses. There's a guy who took our animation course, which he bought for like, I think he bought it for like 29K, and he got a job like I think a couple of months after to work on this animation project. And the good thing is he had the opportunity to talk to his animation mentor on our Slack channel, and
Okay.
they paid him about 700 to 750K for that project.
Wow.
You know, and you know for someone who is just starting out, that is a big deal. Investing 29K and then just a couple of months getting that amount of money. You can imagine what his growth is going to be like.
Hmm.
And so for me, that's exactly why, Geneza School was designed to ensure that design education is accessible, is cheap. Currently, we have students from over 14 countries in the world.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and then mostly African countries. And then we talked about Azari, which is for women, ensuring that women have the opportunity to. There's so much I want to do with Azari. We just not gotten the chance to do it yet. I'll say that I got married a couple of years ago. And, I also have like my businesses, and it's just been a whole lot. So for me, I'm just trying to also get myself together so we can continue to do the work that we already started, with Azari.
Let's make this a bit fun. I just want to ask you throw in a bit of trivia. My first is, what's one fun fact most people don't know about you?
So I have a fish tank. I love animals.
I saw that.
Yeah, I do have a fish tank.
Yeah.
And then I plan to get like a small, is it turtle or something. I plan
Really?
to get
You love
Yeah, I plan to get
animals?
I do love animals. I also plan to get chickens, but I think in the UK you have like the number of chickens you can keep, and then you have to like
Really?
Yeah, you
You
can't keep one on a
you are deep
particular.
in this. For you to
Oh,
know this stats,
I am
you are.
so deep into it
I've
now.
never
I'm
heard
gonna
of
get
that.
my husband works in tech as well, and we're very laid back people, right?
Yeah.
We're very laid back people. This is where I like, so we work remotely. Is
Mm-hmm.
downstairs working and upstairs working. By the
Mm.
time we're done with work, it's either we take a stroll around the estates, and
Yeah.
we truly enjoy these things. People are like,
I love
you guys
it.
act people are like, you guys act like you're in your 70s. We just love
I
we
think you're
just
about
love
old souls, but that's
like, I
fine.
don't know, but we
That's
just
fine.
really we either watch a movie together or we just walk around the estate or we walk around the park or something
Mm.
just really calm.
You know,
Faye, you
normal.
set me up. Why did you ask me that question? Now everyone is going to know that I'm not fun. This is so unfair. I think that one of the things that I didn't even know was a thing that other people experience, right?
Mm.
Is when you are in the midst of like a lot of people,
Yeah.
I get very, very exhausted. And I
Mm.
tried to look for it. I remember I went for this event in London and I had like a lot of people and I was getting to that point where I got so exhausted, greeting people, seeing their faces, and it was just a lot for me. And so I just looked for a corner so that I can breathe, so that I can recharge. And when I got to that corner, I saw another lady there. She was like, "Oh my god, you came to do the same thing." I'm like,
Oh
"Yeah,
my
how are you?"
goodness.
I'm like, "No, this is not me. God
You're
help
not
me."
alone. Don't
You know,
worry. You're
yeah.
not alone.
But I'd like to say that there are a lot of things that I had to learn, about running a business, about running, about having a brand, especially when you're not like, I don't know, Otedola rich, you're trying to build something, right?
Trust fund.
You are, yes, I'm not a trust fund baby, You're trying to build, you're trying to build wealth for your children, you're trying to build a
Yeah.
legacy, you're trying to build something.
Yeah.
You cannot
Yeah.
really afford to, shut yourself or just,
Mm.
you cannot really afford to stay away from everything that's going on. You have
Mm.
to be out there. So I had to learn to make videos, to speak in front of people, to be as outspoken as possible because you have something you need to sell. I have my courses, I have my school, I have my business. And if you don't tell your story, no one will, you know? And so you have to be out there. So
Mm.
you cannot really afford to just, stay in your shell. You also have to ensure that you're in a place where you can inspire other people,
Mm.
right? It's so important. Like we need to, that's why I'm really happy now that we have other women who are doing really great work, like the
Yeah.
She Code Africa, like the Design Chicks and all these different organizations who are
Yeah.
promoting, women empowerment because we need
Yeah.
other women. We need more women to show their excellence and so that other
Yeah.
women can be encouraged to
Yeah.
do so. Imagine if those women just stay hidden because they're
Ex-
afraid, because they're
Exactly.
scared, because they don't like the camera. Who's going to
Mm-hmm.
inspire the next generation of women?
Exactly.
So I'll say
Yeah.
that if you're out there, you're really shy, you don't know how to speak in front of people. I've been there. I used to stutter a lot when I'm in front of people. And when I get very tense, I start to sweat my palm and I start to get very uncomfortable. But I told myself this, that wait, they are there because they want to listen to me. It means I have something to say.
Mm.
And so I'll learn to speak well. I'll learn to speak slowly. But then even if I make mistakes, even if I stutter, there's something valuable that I'm sharing and they want to listen and they will
Mm.
listen.
Mm.
I just need to speak. So please do not hold back. You have something unique. You have a story. I always say everyone has a perspective. We might have similar stories, but there's something about your life that is going to inspire someone else to make a move,
Absolutely.
to make a
Absolutely.
decision. And so
Absolutely.
if you keep quiet,
Mm-hmm.
that you become you become a piece of puzzle that never, got to affect the others. You know how a piece
Absolutely.
of puzzle you put it on the I don't know, on the
On the
board, and then
board.
you can now
Mm-hmm.
fit
Yeah.
other pieces into that. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be that piece of puzzle that is just not there for other
Yeah.
people to key into.
To key into.
So I would say just speak out and just be out there.
That's profound. That's so
Yeah.
profound. Uh, I mean, they also like the aim of this podcast is also to do things like this, to put word like this out there. And I'm so glad that we're doing this. And
You're welcome.
you're also crucial to this. And I like to ask some people like this question. So the name of the podcast is the Hungry Creative Podcast. So I like to ask that what does hunger mean to you?
Hunger for me is a pursuit of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
The place where you want to, the word excellence is such an important word to me because there are a lot of people who are good at what they do, but they're not excellent,
Mm.
right? And sometimes excellence is that differentiator, is that thing that I don't know, that just
Makes you
is that
stand out.
difference that makes you stand out, right?
Mm.
And so you want to ensure that for me, being hungry means, pursuing excellence, being the
Mm.
best version of myself. And I feel like sometimes I do it too much. Like, I just completed a project for a brand, for a company. And I remember the designer working with me, he said, Bolanle, I enjoy working with you, but I feel like I can't keep up most times.
Hmm.
Right. And so I had to like really slow down, because it's almost like when I create something, I wake up the next and I'm like, nah, this can be better. I don't like it anymore. Because I'm just looking for ways to make it better. But can it
Hmm.
be perfect? Can it be
Hmm.
perfect? And it's almost like as if I'm searching for perfection.
Hmm.
I don't think
A lot of
we
people
would
don't
ever
take that
get,
well.
yeah, I don't think we would ever get to a place where we are perfect. But if we pursue it long enough, we will get,
Hmm.
at least we'll get close. I don't mean to be mean, but I feel like a lot of people do not understand how important excellence is. And
Hmm.
sometimes I see a person's work and maybe there is a spacing problem and they
Yep.
just leave it. But
Hmm.
for me, it's so uncomfortable, because I'm like, I've worked hard all my life as a designer. I can't let that space go.
No, no,
No.
no, no.
If we have to redo the entire document just to get that
Let's
space right,
go. Yep.
we're going to do it again. So sometimes
Absolutely.
it can come off as being a perfectionist.
Yep.
But for me, I think it is just pursuing excellence,
Absolutely.
being the best version of myself, so that at least I can look
Absolutely.
back a few years time, I can look back and see my work and be like, okay, it's still decent. It's not perfect, but it's still decent. So that's what it means to me,
Wow,
being your own
profound.
recreative.
Once
Yeah.
again, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's also reflective in how you've you've become so better or so good at storytelling and delivering the message, through your stories, through your experiences. What have you done to for someone listening to this and seeing similar traits or patterns in their character or in their skills? Maybe they are trying to create content and they're just like, yeah, I'm just stuttering, I'm just all over the place. What were some things that you did that helped you to become a better storyteller, better content creator? What are some things that you can learn to some other people to benefit from?
I married a writer. I married a storyteller. Everyone should be everyone should
That's the hack. Yeah, okay, we'll get on it. We'll
everyone
get
should
on it.
marry a writer. Yeah. My husband is so good at it. Like
Wow, you're so
such a
lucky.
brilliant, he's such a brilliant writer. But um jokes apart, right? I think that your capacity to design automatically gives you the ability to create stories.
Hmm.
Because when you look at a blank canvas and you are able to bring things together, there's a story there.
Hmm.
But the problem is taking that story in your head and just relating it to others
I
and
think
just
that's where the
telling it.
problem is.
That's what the
That
problem is.
that's where the problem is.
And like my husband would say that anything can be learned, right? You just
Hmm.
need to learn. And
Mm-hmm.
learning doesn't mean that you have to go to a school or anything. If you have to do that, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you can watch other people. You can
Absolutely.
I listen to Palasha a lot, and I feel like I've watched all her interviews, and I just really
Yeah.
like how she's able to tell her stories, how she's able to be herself. And one thing I also learned about storytelling is you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to speak like
Mm.
other people. But the
Mm.
question is, are you able to express yourself in your own unique way? Now,
Mm.
this means that you don't have to sound like, or you don't have to sound like other people. You don't have to have the best, you don't have to use the best words or anything. The question is, are you able to communicate? Are you able to explain your concept to someone else? Now, how can you get better at this? Get somebody, a family member, and force them to listen to you. Like my husband, when I try new recipes, he's forced to try them. Even if he doesn't like it, he has to he has to suffer. He has to experience it so that, I'll know if I should make that again or something. So
Yeah.
look for someone who is willing to, experience the mistakes with you and just
Mm-hmm.
help you get better. I'd say that I've grown. I used to be really scared of just talking about my work or expressing myself or talking about, I know people may find it hard to believe, but it's actually
Mm.
true. I
Yeah.
used to struggle with it a whole lot. But I would say being a designer gives you the chance to tell stories,
Yeah.
the chance to express yourself. And it is so important. In short, storytelling is a big part of branding, big part of
Mm.
design. You
Yeah.
know, for instance, you might design a chair, right? A chair, and then people are like, it's just a chair. But when you tell the story about the chair,
Mm.
about how, you saw someone lose their spine or
Mm.
destroy their spine because they sat in a particular way for so long, and
Mm.
it inspired you to change lives. And they're like, that entire story for just a chair. And just because of the story, you've increased the value of that chair. So
Absolutely.
the question is, how are you able to tell those stories? So people don't really
Absolutely.
get. I remember when I was invited by Cannes and Adobe to be a judge on or to be a part of a jury
Okay.
for a design competition. We had people who were coming to explain their concepts and they couldn't even speak English.
Mm.
Some of them were just trying to take some English words. Some of them brought like translators, and it was just fine.
Mm.
The most important thing is we didn't even care about how they were expressing themselves. For us, it was just a thing of communication. Do I understand what you're saying? Are
Yeah.
you able to reach me? Are you able to make me, connect to your story? Once that is done, that is fine. Then you can start to improve on the other things later. Your speaking, your public speaking, your words, your grammatical, all those different things can get better. But the question is communicate, tell your story, and be willing to try at least.
Wow. Thank you so much, Bolanle. Thank you so
No
much.
problem.
I think even I have learnt a lot from hearing from you.
No
Um,
problem.
I'd like to throw in a surprise, which is that the Hungry Creative Podcast, would like to sponsor 5 women on your course.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
Thank
I've always
you.
said I was going to do this, but I had to just find the right time. And I think, it just leans on the month, the significance of March being, celebrating women and their achievements, and also having you on the session is also to inspire women as well. So I feel like this is just a little token to, to
Thank
still
you.
to propagate this narrative and do
Yeah, I
some
do appreciate that.
more
I do
impact.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you very
thank you. Thank
much.
you for the opportunity. Um,
No problem.
yeah, I definitely think platforms like this also provide an avenue to impact, because people have the means, like a lot of people have money that they use to do other things that don't have any, maybe not as impactful, just do other things, which is fine. But, I feel like contributing to these things also like encourage people like you to keep doing it, because it's quite subsidized. I mean, how much is the average cost on, these popular platforms? You spend a whole lot more and you're doing the same thing. Even, it's more relatable because now it's someone like you speaking the same
Yeah,
language, using the
same
same.
language. Yeah.
I mean, I've benefited from this doing one of your courses, which was very good for me as well, learning so
Thank
many
you.
things. So I feel
Thank you
like
for
we should
you.
extend it for that. All right. So
Yeah.
we're coming to the end of the show, of the podcast session, and being grateful, being inspired, hearing from you. Thank you so much. One last question for you, which we ask all our guests, is what are you doing to become a better version of yourself?
What am I doing? What am I doing at the moment to become a better version of myself? I think that I recently started. So I made a decision recently to start reading more.
Okay.
Right, because my husband loves reading, and I can see how reading, you know, improves your it improves everything about your life. It also
Mm,
expands your perspectives, and it just makes you a better person.
mm,
I do not so before now, instead of reading actual books, I just do more of podcasts and I listen. Like I have like audio books, but there's something reading does to you, especially when you're trying to communicate better, right? So that's just on that front. Other things I'm doing to be better, and also trying to learn things aside design, or trying to explore other areas. It's something I've always wanted to do. For instance, I one of the things I'd like to do in my life is to travel around and just experience, other things, culture. I also want to paint. I feel like these things will make me a more rounded person,
mm,
right? Because I think I've spent so much, a large portion of my life just focusing on design, and I don't want to ever feel like I'm missing out on other things that I should experience. So yeah, as a matter of fact, I think I'm getting to that point where I'm looking forward to retiring. Right? It's not now, obviously, but in a
so
couple,
rich.
I want I want to be comfortable enough to retire early,
Mm,
right? So that I can really just pursue other things like paintings. Like making paintings, oil on canvas, and design for myself, not because I'm chasing a client, right?
Wow.
Design for myself, design without pressure. I'm actually tired of designing for clients, to be honest. And so that I'll say I'm just trying to do all those things. I'm trying to do all those things to become better, a better version of myself. It might not be the
Amazing.
same for every other person, but that is
Yeah.
just it for me. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bolanle. Listen to music or take a nap.
Take a nap.
Okay. Take a stroll or visit a friend.
Take a stroll.
Jollof rice or fried rice?
Jollof rice. Jollof rice.
Nigerian jollof or Ghana jollof?
Because I've noticed that Ghana jollof before. I was saying like Nigerian jollof all the way.
Nigerian jollof for the win. Vector or Rasta?
Vector or Rasta? I say Vector. I like Vector.
You paint a lot.
Yeah, I do. But I like the fact that you can do so for vector illustrations. You can change the colors. It has more flexibility. I think for different things. I like both, but for different things. Well, to choose, I'll just choose vector illustrations. But
Okay,
yeah.
do you actually do vector a lot? You do?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. I know for the project I just completed, I joined the illustrators and we did it together.
Okay, so that goes to my next question. Minimalism or maximalism?
I used to be a minimalist, but now I'm beginning to embrace, so I'd say I'm moving. I'm beginning to, change sides a bit. Yeah.
Okay. What else? Nigeria or the UK?
To be honest, if I stay in Nigeria, people say, why don't you come back? But I genuinely
Loving Nigeria from far away, innit?
Yeah. Maybe it's easier to love things from far away, actually. But I do love Nigeria so much. I feel like I miss the food, I miss Ewa Goyi, and I can make those things here, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
Like Yaris's Ewa Goyi doesn't slap the same. No.
Does it? It doesn't. But I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has to be where I am right now because of the things that I'm working on anyway. So, but I do love Nigeria.
Would you rather work on one big project or 10 small projects at the same time?
One big project, to be honest.
Really?
If
Like
possible,
1-2 year long project?
Yes. I
Yeah.
think so.
You like iterating a lot.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get tired though. I feel like I may get tired. I don't know. Right now, I work on both big and small projects, so
Okay.
I can't really say.
Okay.
There's a project I'm working on. We've been working on the project for about 3 years now, and they're not launched yet. Yeah, and I think by the time they're about to launch, I'm going to be like, I don't think I like what the brand looks like. We should probably respect it before you launch.
That's long. I mean, Sheyi was telling me how long was that airline called? Is it Air?
Airpace? No. That's just I know the airline you're talking about.
Yeah, that one.
Green Africa.
Green Africa. Yeah. He was saying how long. I think he said like 2 years or something. I was like, huh?
Wow.
I was like, what are you doing for 2 years? But yeah, it was a shock to me because I didn't know branding projects could take that long. But you now saying 3 years, that's crazy.
It wasn't just a branding project though. So they are trying to build like a product, and that's taking like so long. A really large product.
Okay.
And so you probably need to support them as they build the product, because you need to provide like several assets to support the product they are building, and that's what takes time. So I would say the branding project, you're done with the branding project, but you need to keep creating assets.
Oh, okay.
To
So
keep the product
you're the sustain phase.
Exactly. Hi everyone, my name is Bolanle Banwo Osadolo, and you're listening to the Hungry Creative Podcast.